Hi guys, so it's been a while since I've uploaded a new video, but I'm back now with what I read in April and May video. These are all the books I read in April and May. I've always wanted to do that. I'll just go through each of them and then, tell you guys what I thought about them. The first book, April. Oops. Okay, so I think this is safer. Anyway, April, I start off with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I rated this 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was fast-paced murder mystery. It was really good to get me back into reading. It's about this girl named Pip who's a high school senior, and she's basically investigating this case that happened a few years ago in her town where basically this guy killed his girlfriend and then killed himself, and that's what the town thinks and everything, but Pip doesn't really believe that. She thinks that there's more. It's told in story, but there's also interview things and stuff like that. It's a really fun book, and I think I read this in a day or two. This is another book I read in April. It's called Good Girl, Bad Blood. It's the second book in the series, and I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. This book is basically about another case in their town where this guy goes missing and their family comes to her for help to find him. This one also similar, fast-paced. I did rate this 4 though because some of it was a little boring, but it was still really good. And then I read the final book in the series, which is As Good as Dead, and this one I rated 5 out of 5 stars. I actually really like this one. It's starting though, it was kind of I guess weak for me. I didn't find it all too much exciting, or I feel like there wasn't a lot of progress in the book. It was kind of slow, but then after 60% onwards, it just really picked up. Before that, it picked up a little more than the starting, but 60% to the end, it was just really interesting. This one, she kind of has a buildup of baggage from the first 2 cases, and after she solved those first 2 cases, there's people who would praise her, but then people who also are threatening her, I guess. So this kind of more focuses on that. I think I'll stand these up after I'm done talking about them. After that, I read Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and I rated that 4 stars. It's about this girl named Avery who's living out of her car. She's in high school, and her goal is basically just to, graduate high school and get into college with a scholarship. But one day, this billionaire dies and leaves Avery his entire fortune. The thing is though, Avery doesn't know who this billionaire is. His name is Tobias Hawthorne, and she doesn't know why he left her his fortune or anything. There's a condition in the will that she must live in Hawthorne house for a year in order to actually inherit the money. At the house, Tobias Hawthorne's 4 grandsons who would have gotten the money are now, she kind of has to live with them and deal with them. The whole Hawthorne family is full of riddles and puzzles and mysteries, and their whole house is full of secret passageways. I thought it was pretty interesting. The starting of the book, I was a little bored, but it picked up really quickly. After that, I read The Hawthorne Legacy and The Final Gambit, which are the second and third books in the series, and I give both of those 4 stars out of 5 as well. By the second book, I think she's figured out part of the puzzle, but not all of it, so she's kind of continuing. The last 2 books are blurred because I literally closed the second book and I opened the third book. The distinction, I don't really remember. She's still figuring out the mystery and her situation, I guess, with the Hawthorne family and then her family and then all that. We're back to paper books again. So by the time I'd finished Inheritance Games, college ended, so I came back home and my sister has these books. I think either in March or April, Netflix's Shadow and Bone season 2 came out, so that was really good, and I basically got back into the fantasy world and this world specifically. So I wanted to reread these books. I think the first time I read them was 2 years ago or something. So this is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, and this is book 1, and then book 2 is Crooked Kingdom. Both of these I gave 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed them. This is about these 6 thieves, I guess, and spies. That's kind of what they do, and they live in the city called Ketterdam. And the leader guy, his name is Kaz. He basically does jobs for money in the city. He gets this one job which he'll get a lot of money for, but it's really hard. It's basically a heist into this prison palace place. It's a found family book, and basically all these characters are super different. They have different skills, and they need to work together, but then since they're kind of like thieves and all, they're kind of like not fully trusting of each other. So that's like really interesting to read. Kaz is like really like clever in what he does and like how he, you know, plans on doing this heist and everything. So it's really fun to read that. So yeah, it's told in different perspectives. The first book is kind of leaves off in like a cliffhanger a little bit. So I went into this one directly, and I think this was the first book I read in May. This one, again, like very similar to this one, the first book, but Crooked Kingdom has more of the banter between the characters and like the planning, and there's a lot more of like their interactions, I think, in this book, since they're kind of doing multiple things, whereas this one, the main thing was the heist and trying to, you know, get that done. This one has a few more pieces to the plot, I guess. So yeah, both them 5 out of 5 stars. They're literally so good. I think the Netflix show is also really, really good. So if you guys have Netflix, definitely should watch that and read these books as well. Next, I read Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, and it's more of a fantasy romance book. It's about this girl named Evangeline who basically believes in like happily ever after and that sort of thing, but then like her situation kind of goes away from that, so then that leads her to make a deal with this guy, the Prince of Hearts, and he's this immortal fate. So then the book goes into how Evangeline realizes that that deal is asking for more than she'd originally thought it was about, and how the Prince of Hearts is kind of like playing with her, and he's like this like cruel, kind of cruel I guess, but like cunning guy. So yeah, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I feel like the first 50% was I feel like it was kind of like an account of her life. It was kind of just like telling details and like kind of went on, but then after that you kind of get into this like sort of mystery-ish thing, and I think that like later like picks up. So yeah, I did like the second half of the book much more than the first half. So yeah, after that I read The Ballad of Never After, which is the second book. Basically after the first book, she like realizes something at the end, and I feel like the first book just stops like in the middle. Like you would think that there's another chapter, but there isn't. This one just picks up like literally like right there. Basically it's kind of like continuing with what she realizes in the first book. So yeah. There's a third book that hasn't released yet, and this one also ends like really like cliffhanger. So yeah, excited for the third one. But yeah, I gave this one 4.5 out of 5, and yeah. Next I read Shatter Me. This book I did not like too much. I gave it a 2 out of 5. I feel like it's about this girl named Juliet, and basically she can kill people she like touches. So she sees this as like a curse, but in her like dystopian world, there's this thing called a reestablishment where they're basically trying to like fix the earth because I think like climate change went too far or something like that. Like I think like the clouds and everything are like wrong colors or something in the book. I feel like they mentioned that. But basically that reestablishment thinks that her curse is like actually a gift, and that like she's like a really powerful person. But yeah, the book I think is like really slow. The first like whole beginning, she's like literally in a prison cell. I think I'll get back to it at some point, just because I've heard good things about like book 3 onwards. After that, here again, I read Karaval, also by Stephanie Garber. Hold on, this is the last one. But this series I'd originally listened to an audiobook, so I didn't actually like when I was reading it, I realized a lot more things. I think I like understood it much better. This is in the same world as Ballad of Never After, and actually it's a 3-series book, and this series comes before. It's about this girl named Scarlet, and there's this basically game in her world called Karaval, and it's basically where the participants like they like play in the game, and it's like full of magic, and the whole like premise I guess of the game is to solve a mystery or follow clues to like get to the end where the host guy of Karaval, whose name is Legend, will give like the person a prize. The Karaval that Scarlet is invited to basically revolves around finding her sister named Tella. I don't know if I described it interestingly, but it's really good. It's another one of my like favorite series ever. I give this one 5 out of 5 stars. After that, Legendary is about Scarlet's sister, Tella. I don't want to like give too much away, but it's basically about Tella playing the game this time. And by the end of the game, there's like this big realization, I guess, and that leads to the third book, which is Finale. And now by this book, it's like past the game and past everything that happens is like only within the game. It kind of like reaches out into the real world, like their world. And basically Scarlet and Tella, this one's told in dual perspective, and how they're kind of like, I feel like it's like trying to save the world, I guess. So it's like a fantasy romance mystery, I mean kind of mystery, adventure sort of series. I give all 3 of them 5 out of 5 stars. I feel like if I like the first book in the series and then the second book, I'll end up liking the entire series. After that, I read A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, I think that's how you say her name. This one's also another like fancy romance book, and it's about this girl named, it's Feyre. I think they like said the pronunciation was like Feyre or something. She lives with her sister, 2 sisters, and her dad in this like broken down cottage. She's like hunting for food because they don't have a lot of money, and one day she kills this fairy, and in the woods, and that like leads to her being taken into the like fantasy fairy world. It's kind of about her life there. Basically it's about her kind of like adapting because she needs to like her punishment is to live there, and how she's like worrying about her family back home and everything, and how she's meeting these creatures. I gave it 3.5. It was like kind of good. The beginning I found a little boring, I guess. I feel like it was kind of just like an account of her life and what she did. I thought it was pretty good. I read this on Kindle, and the loan ended, so because I got like the 5-book bundle or something, so I need to wait for book 2. The final book of May was Dance of Thieves by Mary Pearson. It's about this girl named Kazi, and she's like a soldier to the queen in her kingdom, and it's told in dual perspective, so that's one of the people. And then the other guy, I forgot his name, but I'm really sure it starts with the letter J. It's about that guy whose father just died, so he basically is now the kingdom leader. So like his father was the king. They don't call it the king, they call it something else, but now this guy whose name starts with the letter J, he's kind of like suddenly thrown into power, and he has to like make decisions and everything. It's basically about how these 2 people are kind of thrown together, and how they both need to, I guess, like both start trusting each other, but they have like ulterior motives as well, since Kazi is actually like trying to get some information or something for the queen, and the guy whose name starts with the letter J is he's like a new ruler now, so he also kind of has to be aware of everything that's going on. It was pretty interesting. The first part was kind of like this like adventure jungle trekking thing, but then after that was like only like 10-15%, and then after that they actually like get back to the kingdoms, and you know, it's more about like the situation there and the politics and sort of like that. I give it a 4.2 out of 5. I guess I was trying to like put it in between. I was like, oh, it's better than the starting of Once Upon a Broken Heart, but I don't think it's as good as like Karaval or something, so I kind of like rated it like that. Yes, those are the books I read in April and May. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, whatever you guys feel like doing. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!